I'm really so excited presenting at this virtual conference, and this is the first time I'm presenting with the CSharpCorner's virtual conference. And thanks, Simon, and your team for doing a good job. And it's not easy to organize a conference, pulling in a lot of presenters across the world, and you are doing a good job. And thanks for yourself and your team. So let us get started with our final session of the day, if I understand that correct, which is developing AI enabled applications in Power Apps using AI Builder. I'm Anupama Natarajan. I think there was a great introduction given about me, so I'm not going to take a lot of time reiterating that. So I'm a data and AI consultant. I live in Wellington, New Zealand. And today I'm going to talk to you about the AI Builder product that we have got with Power Apps. Just a little bit about myself. I work in the IT industry for the past 20 plus years, and yes, from a wide range of roles that I have performed. I started as a developer back in India, and I was born and brought up in India, and moved to New Zealand, and been working as a developer, data warehouse specialist, and I really have passion with data because that is what was driving me to change different roles and try and look at what will really make me happy. And data is what I was passionate about. And also, how do we get value out of the data and expose that data to our business users, and so that they can also derive value out of that. So I always look for opportunities like in terms of tools and techniques that will help us to get value out of data. So whether I'm exposing data in the form of visualizations using Power BI, or whether I'm exposing the data in the form of APIs, or finally, like now I have a better opportunity of automating as well as providing value for organizations through artificial intelligence. And that's why now AI is becoming more or less my passionate pet piece of work or project, because it's another way of exposing value of your data that organizations have got for your business users. So if you have to reach out to me post this session, and I have got my social media channels in there, and as well as my email address and my blogs, feel free to reach out to me for any questions, and I'm happy always to get back to you. Of course, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and speaker, and I do organize conferences and things based in Wellington, New Zealand. So the agenda for today's session, I will briefly introduce you around AI Builder, and we will look at what as pre-built models and custom models mean in the context of AI Builder, and how do we add intelligence to applications. Because what does this AI Builder do? What am I going to do with models? Is it going to be really hectic for me to do this activity, or do I need to create anything from scratch? Do I need to have programming language experience? So all these questions will be going on in your mind, and that's what I would try to answer here. And finally, I will showcase a demo in terms of how easy and simple it is for you to use the AI Builder in Power Apps. So the context of AI Builder, you can use it in Power Apps as well as in Power Automate. And but I will be showcasing more in terms of Power Apps, but always you have better opportunities to embed in Power Automate. And I think in my previous session that was presented, I was also able to see how they leveraged uh, Power Automate and AI Builder. So before we get into AI Builder, just a overview around the Power Platform products, and you have your Power BI for business analytics, Power Apps for application development, which is more or less I would say rapid application development, and Power Automate, of course, to do the workflow automation. So easily you can connect to any data sets that you want to connect to, and you can get business insights out of that. The main idea here is all about how quickly like Microsoft can make people to develop things. So if you want to build reports, it should be easy. If you want to develop applications, it should be really straightforward, and you don't need to have any programming language experience. And of course, like if you want to do workflow automation, it should be a piece of cake. So I loved Power Automate even from the days like it was coming as Flow, and similarly Power Apps, because it's always handy to have a tool in your tool belt like that can help you with application development in a quite quite quicker time frame. I still remember the days when I was working as a consultant and meeting my clients, where I was trying to explain to them how much value Power BI was adding. And one of the frequent questions I get is like, okay, Anupama, I'm happy to see these visualizations, but I want an application where I can update my target data or sales data, and I want the visualizations to immediately reflect that. Okay, so used to think at that time and said like, okay, do we have an option like this in the Power BI? No. So, okay, do I need to build a custom application and then serve the Power BI report side by side? Now with Power Apps, totally like it has blown out in terms of my clients, because you can do this quite easily by embedding your Power Apps inside Power BI. So that's the power I think the Power Platform tools are actually bringing into our customers. Why not? In the Gartner chart, always like Microsoft will be on the top when it comes to Power BI and Power Apps. They are investing a lot of time and effort, and you can see the difference because year after year, like I think they are just becoming the leaders in the Power analytics as well as the application development platform community. So the current topic for the day is all about AI Builder. So this is providing a low code AI capability across the entire Power Platform, like what do you say, products. So Microsoft thought about like artificial intelligence. This is being a buzzword and every organization wants to jump and start using AI, but where they were struggling is the knowledge and the skills that is required in order to build these models and embed in the applications. So Microsoft were able to quickly understand that this is the fundamental issue that they are facing with a lot of organizations, and they started looking at, okay, how can we just make life easy for these organizations? So let us give them a low code AI capability where these models can be easily created and also can be embedded in tools like Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and of course, like now you have got Power Virtual Agents joined in the Power Platform uh, product stack, where it provides you a capability that you can chat with you can chat with virtual agents. So, long story short, AI Builder is mainly to help organizations to quickly embed AI capability inside the Power Platform products. And how do you go about do that is what we will be covering in this session, mainly around integrating with Power Apps. So the data connectors, AI Builder, and Dataverse, which is your common data service that got a new name currently. So all these things are going to be leveraged by all these Power Platform tools. So AI Builder is now not only embedded in Power Apps, but also like you can leverage that in Power Automate, Power BI, and the Power Virtual Agents products in the family catalog. So, what do we get out of AI Builder? So, Microsoft have provided some pre-built models that is available already, and you can leverage them in your applications. And this is I'm talking in the context of Power Apps and the Power Automate family. So you have a business card reader model, which automatically pull the contact information from the business cards by just scanning that image. You can do sentiment analysis, so you can detect positive or negative or neutral sentiments based on the comments that the people put in the social media. Really handy, right? Like if you think about a customer who immediately wants to know what they like the organization is thinking of, what their customers are thinking about their organization, immediately they can pull their comments from the social media channels and do sentiment analysis. So then you have key phrase extraction. So if you have a lot of text documents that needs to be looked into and look for some main points or key phrases out of those documents, now you can easily extract that information with the pre-built AI capability models. Language detection of if you have huge amount of documents and you want to see what's the predominant language that has been used across these documents. And finally, text recognition. I don't know how many of you have recognized text recognition as a pain point. I personally have gone through that a lot in my early stages of my career. I go and work for a lot of organizations where they do a lot of scanning of documents, and there is a lot of digital presence in front of the customers, but all the back office has been, what I have seen is scan images on a daily basis, then do the keying and then do the verification. So the reason for that is because like the OCR or the machine readable capabilities are not strong enough, especially when it comes to handwritten text, because a lot of these forms I have worked in these organizations are filled by people like using handwritten text, and there wasn't like, even though we had OCR, it's not powerful enough in terms of recognizing text. I think the models that we are Microsoft are creating with the AI builder, these models are better enough. Like if I remember, even with AI, Microsoft released a version 1.0 of the models, but also they are now created a 2.0 version of the OCR capability. So, which means they are actually fine tuning and refining to make sure the OCR text recognition capability is really powerful when it comes to using the AI builder. So, this gives you some of the idea around the pre built models and their availability. Mostly everything is available as a GA, except for few things like there are new ones that have come as preview, like receipt processing, category classification, and invoice processing. So these are in preview modes and which may turn into GA quite soon. So we saw some pre-built models. You can also do some custom models and within AI Builder. So you can create your own models, you can train them, and then you can start using them in your applications. So you can do prediction, and that is um, like a model creation that was used in in this previous session before mine. And it was nice to see the dating application how it was using the prediction capabilities for the application itself. Similarly, you have form processing and where you can read, extract, and process data out of emails, PDFs, or even images. And you have object detection, and this is what the demo that we'll be looking in today's session is. You can easily build an AI model. You tag the images, and you can tag them with the right saying this is the object name. And finally, you can also use you can detect objects in images based on the model that you have trained. You have category classification as well as entity extraction. So if you want to extract a specific information about your business from data, then the entity extraction as well as the category classification will help you. So not only the predefined models that you can use, you can also create custom models using AI Builder, and you can leverage that within your applications. So how do I add intelligence to applications? Like first thing is you choose the AI model type that we have seen in the previous slides, few AI model types that you can use. So whether you go for a completely pre-built model or you are going to create a custom model, and then what you do is you connect your to the data source where you can pull through. So whether we are talking about images or text for doing sentiment analysis, so you do all those things in terms of where your data source is there and connect to that. Then you tailor your AI model. So here, am I going to do like forms recognition or am I going to do object detection? Whatever model I'm going to create, and what I need to do is to tailor whatever is required in terms of giving inputs like tagging to my AI model. Then it comes in terms of training your AI model, because once you finish off your tagging process, you identified your source. The next thing you basically will do is to start training the AI model, and finally consuming it, right? Once you are trained your AI model, of course you will be testing it, and once the testing process is successful, it's all about how do you consume that AI model inside your application to get better insights. So this is pretty much, I would say, like a simple workflow that you will follow if you want to add intelligence to your applications. So enough of talking about a lot of things around AI and the product stack and stuff. Let us quickly look at a simple demo around how do we do object detection using the AI builder in PowerApps. So what I have got here is I've logged on to make.powerapps.com, and this is the homepage of your Power Apps. So here you can see the option where I have got AI builder. Maybe I'll zoom a bit. I think hopefully it is clear on screen. So this is my AI builder. So I have got two options in here where I can build my custom models, or I can just look at the list of models that I have already generated and I can use it. So here I will hit on build. So I built a sample model today, especially this morning, just to make sure, like in case for saving time. So here is the list of models that you can build. Like you can do category classification, entity extraction, forms processing. You can do object detection, basically recognizing the objects and count the number of objects that you have in images. And finally, prediction, which is using the historical data, predict and finding the future. So predicting the future using this model. So this is what I would call it as the custom models as we discussed. And here are the ones that we talked about in terms of pre-built models. So I can just use a business card reader to automatically detect. I give an image or a business card image and it will automatically detect the information. Similarly, invoice processing, key phrase extraction, language detection, text translation, text recognition, sentiment analysis. So these are out of the box AI models that you can use. Like this is pre-built models that you can use then and there. So you don't need to worry about training or anything. So the pre-built models or AI models that have been already pre-trained and ready to be used by yourself. So Microsoft have done all the work behind the scenes in terms of training these models and making it ready. So there is a common question I get asked when I do presentations about AI. So okay, so we have got the REST APIs which provide us to like forms recognizer API, like what is a computer vision API, custom vision API. So I'm like, what is the difference between that, and what is the difference between using these APIs inside the Power Platform? So when Microsoft started building the pre-built APIs, of course, they started exposing them as APIs that can be integrated with applications. So then they realized saying, not, as I said, not a lot of organizations will have developers who will, like a lot of developers to start integrating them in each and every app. And also, like, it was about how do we think and make things really easy for our customers. So what they decided was better to give these pre-built AI models and integrate them into the right Microsoft tool stack also. So what they have taken is taken that APIs that they have developed, and now they have already integrated that in tools like Power Apps, Power BI, as well as Power Automate. So if you're thinking about like, are they different? No, underlying they are the same APIs. One is giving you the ability to integrate those APIs into your custom applications, and the other one is that Microsoft themselves took those APIs and integrated with their product stack within the Power Platform family. So that's pretty much behind the scenes. So if you learned about those APIs are the ones behind the scenes got integrated in here. So that's how things work behind the scenes. Okay, so enough of chatting about that. Let us get into our demo. So here is our object detection. So the first thing with object detection is I want to give a name to my AI model. So what I'll do is my object detection, and maybe I'll give so object detection model demo. So what you will need, and so these are some of the prerequisites that is already it is going to tell you. So in terms of the needs, it is asking you to say like, okay, I want at least 15 plus images for each object you would like to detect. Okay, so I know what I need to provide for that. And if you need some sample examples or best practices, you can go here and you can start working on that. So one of the example which I'm going to do is already, you will get to see that when you go back and start practicing AI Builder within Power Apps. So hit on create. So now this is going to create a model and it will give me the steps that I have to carry out in order to successfully build my object detection model. So this is going to take a little bit of time. So patience is important. So model domain. So I have got complex objects that I can choose, or I can choose like saying objects on retail shelf that I want to model, or I can use like a brand logo. So if I can just scan through some images and highlight the brands, then you can go ahead and do that. If you look at this, this is similar to what you can see in the computer vision part of the AI, like what is it, the AI APIs that you looked at it in terms of cognitive services. Okay, here I'm going to use common objects. And the next step I need to do is to add some, okay, I need to add some objects. What are the objects that I'm going to detect here? So the objects that I'm going to detect is I have got a whole series of images, which is going to give me some capability. Sorry, let me move this over. So which is going to give me some capability of adding uh, images and also detecting the objects out of those images. So when I talk about adding images and detecting sources out of those images, so what I'm going to do is like I have some images which talks about the different flavors of tea. So when I say different flavors of tea, I have got the green tea and the mint tea, as well as like cinnamon tea. So if I want to go and create the object, I can just say like I can go for green tea, mint tea, and cinnamon tea. So three objects I'm just going to create here, and so basically objects, or these are the labels I'll be using in my images in order to tag them. So now I have given the object names. It's time to add some images and start tagging them or adding objects to those images so that I can train my model. So I'll click on add images. The source I'm going to take it is from my list of examples I have got. So let me choose some images from my samples. Cool. So I have got a series of images in here. Normally they say 15 plus would be really good, but 50 plus is also much better. So you can also like tag multiple images in here. So some of the quick tips, if I can see showcase to you while it is uploading. So you can start with 15 plus images per object, but it's always good to have 50 plus. Image requirements, what formats of the image are supported, and also like it's okay to tag multiple objects in the same image, and it is good enough to automatically detect that. So now the images are getting uploaded. The next process is all about tagging the images with the objects I have created. Cool. So I have got around 30 images. So now the tagging process starts, and this is going to be an interesting process, but it'll be good because you can just start with the process and then automatically refine it. So I can go here and say, okay, so this is my green tea, and I can go here and say, so here I can be clever enough to reduce this size of the. So sometimes it pre-detects for you, or sometimes it when you have multiple objects, it's nice to size the object, and then you can start doing the tagging. So I can say like, okay, it's a green tea cinnamon. So similarly, like you can go ahead and start tagging like this. So whether it's a mint or a cinnamon, or okay, I'll just go put this as a mint. So remove this one. Me do the retagging of that. So you can just say like, okay, whether it's a green tea or a mint tea or a cinnamon tea, and then you can start looking at. So this is a green tea with mint flavor. This is a green tea with cinnamon flavored, and then you almost have a rose flavor one also. So I'm not going to keep tagging here, but it gives you the idea around how many images that you keep tagging. And once you are done with the tagging, you can move on. So I'm just going to continue saying I have done the tagging, but it is clever enough to understand that I haven't tagged enough images. So what I'll do is rather than just going in here, I'll just reopen the model that I have already created. So the idea behind this, you have to do this process and you have to tag each and every image. So I don't want to just tag like 15 images right now and wasting everyone's time. So what I can do here is I will show you the model that has been already trained. So this is my model. So as you can see, in the previous screen, I had two models. The other model was the work in progress model. So this is the model that I have previously created and published it. So if I want to show you, I can click the edit model, say like, okay, start from the previous published version, just to showcase like it's a similar process I have gone through. And I have tagged them, I have trained them, and also I have published that particular model. So here I can just showcase quickly, and once it loads, in terms of the images that I have used and the tags that I have done. So same process, click on next. So the three objects that has been made, and then I have got all the images that has been tagged successfully. And finally, I have got a model summary. So this is how I was doing the tagging. Let me go back in here, get back to my build, and models. Cool. So here is the model that I have pre-trained and made it really available. So one of the thing you can see with this, so I can discard the draft. I don't need a draft model anymore. So once I tag my images, then I can just say like, okay, create the model. Once the model is created, you have to train the model. So the training process is nothing but it takes all the images and also like the objects or the labels that you have tagged with those images, and it creates the model which you can use in terms of testing your models. So here I have trained my model, and what I can do is I can do a quick test of my model. So if I want to just upload a sample image from my thing here, I can just go ahead and choose an image, and it can automatically detect what is the type of tea I have got. So here I have got a green tea row. So this is some based on the tagging, it will be able to detect that. So what I have get is the 92% of accuracy. So based on that, you can make decisions around what you really want to do with this particular model. So you can say like, okay, if I want to give you a real world example, so sometimes you can use this detection process saying find objects from images. If it is more than a particular threshold, like 85% or 90%, you can confidently route it to say yes, it has detected it correctly. But if you have issues like where it is saying like less than 80%, then probably you may need to redirect those images to a different workflow process in your organization. So think it in such way. That's where the accuracy percentage will help you in order to decide on how do you tailor your workflow process. So I have created the model. I have published the model and got it ready now. So what am I going to do with this? So am I going to just keep on doing a quick test with this model? That's not the case. So what you can do with this model is now you can take this model and you can quite quickly build an application in order to utilize this model in your app. So the use model button here, it will allow you to say like, do you want to create a new application in PowerApps? So this can be a Canvas app, or can do you want to create a new flow which is using the Power Automate? So these are the two things that are supported. If you think about Power BI, Power BI already has got some AI capabilities embedded in that, so you can easily use these models in Power BI if you need to. And currently, it is with Power Apps and Power Automate. You can leverage it straight from here. So I want to create a new app using this model. So this is going to open my Power App Studio that will allow me to create the things with the model. So conscious of the time, I have got a application already created. But if you want to create an application, that's what you will be doing. So use model, decide on whether you want to create a Power Apps application or a Power Automate application, and you will be taken to an application editing screen. So here I'm going to just load the application that I have created. So where I have named the application as object detector, and I have got two controls here. One is an object detector uh, control, and then I have got a data table. So mainly what it does is it will, when I upload an image, this is going to go ahead and detect the object, and this particular data table is now tied with the output of the object that I will be given, and it is going to give me the columns like in terms of the tagging. So how many tags it can find in the what tags it can find in the image, and what is the total number of object count. So when it comes to this particular object detector, again, of course, you can add these things in here itself. So how I added this object detector is under insert, I went into AI builder. So here I can see the object detector. So control, so I have just put that component directly onto my editor here. The next thing I need to do is to tie up with a model. So here my AI model was pre-listed, and I just chose that model that I created, and that's what the first thing you need to do. The next one is I inserted a data table, and in the advanced, what I have done is in the properties, I have added tag name as well as the object count as the columns for my data table. And now this is in order to tag this particular one with my um, object detector here. I have also just set a few things around this tag name is actually coming from this particular object detector. Cool. So they here. So when you choose the data table, as you can see in the formula bar, I have specified the object detector's results is what I'm going to add as columns into this particular data table. This is where I have just tied the link between the data table as well as my object detector control. So we have got this configured. So as simple as this. So you created a model by training the model using some images. Of course, you did the tagging process. And then straight away, once the model is trained, you did a quick test. And once the test is successful and you're happy with the model, then probably like you can go ahead and publish the model. As part of publishing the model, you can start clicking on using the model to create your Canvas app or Power Automate object. And then you can go here and start designing on how you want to utilize the model. Once you have created the Power App, you have the ability to preview it, right? So I clicked on this play button, and which allowed me to just open the app to demo it. So I'll click on detect. So here I'm going to give the same image that we used, and what it's going to do is this is going to give me okay how many tags it can detect and what is the total object count of those tags. So there you go. So it was able to detect the green tea rose, and it is only one object that it was able to detect, but it can't see any of the mint or the cinnamons in here. But when we tagged, like there is a whole heap of tags that we provided across for different images. So the idea behind here is that now you can actually use this particular model in your applications quite easily, whether you develop the application in Power Apps or whether you develop the application in Power Automate. Cool. So that is the other one. So then you can start saving this and you can start sharing the application with whoever you want to do that. So this is the main reason what I wanted to show is because how easy it is to create a AI model using AI Builder, and you can start embedding this in the applications that you really want to use. So you can think about where you can leverage these type of applications is like I had a client who had to look at meter readings for their residential customers. So here we can give the app, this type of app can be provided to the end users, your customers, where they can take a photo of that meter reading image, because sometimes like when they go for meter reading, the people won't be at home. So they can detect, just take a photo, it will automatically extract the text out of the meter reading image, and then immediately when they click on a button on the app, it should automatically send the meter reading to your organization back. So classic thing like where you have a business problem and you can think of how to leverage these type of AI builder models or capabilities in order to address those type of business problems. So let us come back to our slides in here. So if I want to recap the intelligence to adding intelligence to your applications, what we saw was a classic example where we decided on the AI model type. In this case, I wanted to do object detection. We connected to the data. The data, what we had was a series of images that we wanted to put that into the model for tagging purposes. We tailored our AI model. So here tagging played an important role for object detection model, where we took a series of images, we started tagging them, and then we decided like, okay, it's time to train our AI model. So two things that we did with the object detection model was we created those objects, then we used those objects to identify them in the image and tag them appropriately. So some of the key things to remember here is around the number of images you choose. The more images you tag, the more the accuracy that you can get. I used around 30 images in the example, but I would say like if you are using in real world scenarios, use at least 50 images to start with the minimum, and the more images you have, the more the accuracy. So then we created the model and we trained the model. And once the model is trained, you have the ability to create either a Power App application or a Power Automate application straight from the model. And what we did was we created a Canvas app. We just had a couple of controls. One is the object detector and the data table. And we just linked these two things together. And in the data table, we made sure like we showed what is the object name and what is the total number of count of objects that the model is detecting out of the image we are uploading. Finally, we did a preview of uploading an image and then allowing the model to extract the information out of the image to populate the data table. So quite a simple example, but quite powerful in terms of how can you leverage the AI capabilities quite easily. And here we created a custom model. That's the point I want to highlight. This is not a pre-built model. You created a model based on the data set that you had in your organization. You did the tagging and now you are utilizing it. So this is not like a pre-built model like a business card reader or something that you are using. So that's something you need to be proud about, like you have the ability to create custom models and leverage that within your application. So that's the demo we quickly saw. And thanks for providing me the opportunity to present in today's session.